Hello, everybody. This is the first Springfield College football podcast. I'm Sam Dostaler, color announcer for the 2012 Springfield College football team. Joining me is Jimmy Kelley, one of our sideline reporters. How are we doing today, Jimmy?
Pretty good, Sam. How about you?
We're doing well. We're going to jump right to it. Springfield last week escaped with a 49-42 win over Mount Ida in their second home game of the season. They improved to 1-1 at home, 2-1 on the season. Your thoughts on that exciting game last week?
I thought that they came out flying on offense, and they were really clicking in the run game. The option attack led by Rob Merkling in his first start was really clicking. 49 points on the board's a lot. 28-28 at halftime. They showed some resilience down the stretch. Came back from 40-42 to 28 deficit. 3 touchdowns by Mike Davis. He's been nothing but spectacular all season. So I think all in all, they learned a lot about themselves as a team this weekend based on being able to come back from that type of deficit and put together something like that in the second half.
You mentioned Mike Davis, the senior running back. He was named the Co-Liberty League Offensive Player of the Week for his performance rushing for 184 yards and 4 touchdowns. His touchdown runs were of 62, 19, 52, and 13 yards. How good was his performance last week?
He only carried the ball 10 times, so to score 4 touchdowns on 10 attempts that's a pretty ridiculous output. And 184 total yards, that's just an astounding number, even if you carry the ball 20 times, let alone 10. Davis he was a primary runner last year behind Josh Carter, but this year he's really the feature back in that offense, especially with Austin Bateman out now with what Coach Mike DeLong told me the other day was a long-term type injury. Davis was actually just named ECAC Division III Offensive Player of the Week for the Northwest Division of the ECAC. So he's really just turned out to be a fantastic option on offense this year, and a senior leader that this team really needed after all the leadership that left after last season.
A little bit more on last week's win over Mount Ida. Sophomore quarterback Rob Merkling, he saw some action the week before against Husson, but that was in a relief role after the starting quarterback, Andrew Bateman, got hurt. What can you say about Rob Merkling's performance in his first career start?
It's not like you can ask him for anything more out of a sophomore making his first career start. He put up solid numbers. Some of the reads he made in that triple option offense were, to either pitch it or keep it. He made a couple of keeps that resulted in first downs that were astounding runs that, you see it out of Josh Carter as a senior, but you didn't see it out of Josh Carter as a sophomore. So, to see someone like Rob Merkling come in his first start and make reads that effectively and run that offense that effectively, really, it has to make the team feel good, but as a coaching staff, they feel good as well because they know that, now they have Rob coming back next year, Bateman coming back next year, he'll be a senior. So you never know what's going to happen on the football field. So to have someone like Rob Merkling who may not have the experience, but just needs to get that experience, it's got to be a relief.
Now I want to move to the other side of the ball. The defense did struggle for much of the afternoon, allowing 526 yards of total offense. They did shore things up at the end and allowed the Springfield offense to do its job and get back into the ballgame and eventually win the ballgame. But what are some of the things that the team has to work on to shore up the defense for this upcoming week?
Well, I think that they just need to compete. And while they were competing for much of the game against Mount Ida, there were some minor slip-ups. They struggled against the play action of Mount Ida, and they're facing a team in Rochester this week that's really going to look to throw the ball again. So they're going to need to be more disciplined on defense, and they're going to need to be ready for a passing attack, which is, if I'm Rochester and I'm looking at last week's numbers, for most of the game at least, I'm feeling pretty confident. However, at the end of the game, they did shore things up. They didn't allow a touchdown for, I don't even know what the exact number was, but the last couple of possessions, they managed to force a couple of turnover and downs. They got a fumble. They got an interception. Just huge plays by this defense that is senior laden, and somebody like Kevin Shields in the middle, who's their leading tackler this season, really got in the face of his teammates, called him out, asked him to compete more, and that's having senior leadership like that is invaluable, and we saw that in the fourth quarter of last week's game.
Now, I want to look forward to this week a little bit. Springfield playing at home for the second straight week. This week they take on the University of Rochester in Springfield College's first game in the Liberty League. Rochester 1-1 on the season. They're going to be a tough matchup for Springfield. What are some of the things we can expect to see in Saturday's ball game?
Their quarterback is an athletic player, and they're ready for that. Coach DeLong is ready for that. As he's looked at the film much more than I have, but he's also looked at the numbers. And the numbers say that they're looking at a very efficient passing attack. He's got 3 touchdowns against just 1 interception this year. They like to spread the ball out. They have 2 guys on the season with at least 9 catches, which is, about those 18 catches are about 16 more than Springfield has a team this year. So they are looking at something that they probably aren't going to see a whole lot on defense during practice from the scout team. That's going to replicate what they're going to see on Saturday. But it's going to be a very similar game as the Mount Ida game. They're going to try to come out and pass the ball. They're going to try to switch it up with the run a little bit more often. But the offense is going to look to throw the ball. And they played an opponent last week in St. John Fisher that Springfield has played in the past. And they're losing that game has to give Springfield a little bit more confidence, because they know what to expect at St. John Fisher, and if St. John Fisher is able to beat a team like Rochester, then Springfield can kind of have an idea of what's going on with that team.
Springfield, on the offensive side, obviously we all know they like to run the ball. That is what they go to. They only threw 2 times last week. 1 was a completion, 1 an interception. Springfield is second in the nation in rushing for Division III football with 361 yards per game. Rochester, as a team, has allowed 147 yards per game on the ground. Is this something that Springfield can take advantage of?
Absolutely. Anytime you look at numbers like that, you know that this is a team that's not particularly strong against the run. 147 yards is a lot of yards. And when you get a team like Springfield that almost exclusively runs the ball, you got to be looking at that number, and your mouth's got to be watering. So I think that Springfield is definitely going to look to take advantage of it, whether they do it with Joel DeVista up the middle, whether they do it with Davis around the outside, or even Andy Bean, who gets lost in all these, all the talk of Mike Davis, Joel DeVista. But Andy Bean is one of the faster players on this team, and when he gets the ball in the open field, he's just as dangerous as Mike Davis. So it'll be interesting to see how they look to exploit it and how much they're able to exploit it.
All right, a couple more questions here. Just trying to wrap things up, what are some keys to the game on Saturday for this Rochester squad?
Well, if you're Rochester and you're looking at only the second time these 2 teams have ever played in the history of either college, played 1929 to a 7-7 slugfest tie. I'm not going to expect that type of game this weekend. I'm expecting either a high-scoring game that sees Springfield run away with it, or it'll be kind of in the middle scoring and it'll be close. But if this game gets into the high scoring, turns into a high-scoring affair, I don't see any way that Rochester keeps up with Springfield and the ball control offense that they have. So I would say I'd expect to see Springfield come out and run the ball. And if you're Rochester, you need to be ready to be disciplined enough to not bite on fakes, to know that the ball, just because it looks like he's handing it off up the middle doesn't mean he is. Just because it looks like he's going to pitch to Davis or Bean doesn't mean he is. You have to stay disciplined on the quarterback and be ready for any of the 3 options that come with that triple option offense.
Now, on the other side of the ball, you obviously have Springfield. Just quickly, some of the keys for the Pride in this game on Saturday.
As it's been all season, they're going to need to run the ball effectively, because that's their offense. I'm not saying that you need to have another 184-yard, 4-touchdown performance from Mike Davis to come away with the win, but they're going to need to be able to eat up 3, 4, 5 yards at a time on the ground, and if they can do that, they're going to really eat up time, which will cut into Rochester's ability to try to keep pace with this offense. Defensively, they need to just be ready for that play action. If Rochester watched any of the films from Mount Ida, they know that this team bites on play action fakes. Now, whether or not that's going to be the case this week, because Coach DeLong noticed it just like I did, and they're going to really drill it into their heads to stay disciplined. But if you're Rochester, if you're Springfield, you got to be ready to defend against the pass just a little bit better than last week, which should be interesting depending on whether or not cornerback Jason Woods plays this week. So how much of last game, and told me the other day, Coach DeLong told me the other day that he was doubtful for this weekend. what his status is at the moment remains unclear. But having Jason Woods on the outside is a definite help. So if you're Springfield, you got to be able to stop this passing attack.
All right, thanks very much, Jimmy. That's Jimmy Kelley, one of our sideline reporters for the ESPN 1450 The Hall broadcast of the game. Fortunately, that game will not be on live at 1 p.m. on Saturday. The rerun will be aired at 8 a.m. Sunday morning. The Yankees have an afternoon game that day, so ESPN 1450 has the rights to that Yankee game. So be sure to check into the game on ESPN 1450 The Hall Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Kyle Belanger and myself will have the call on that one. Sam Reed will also be joining us on the sideline. If you can't make the game and you want to watch it live, it will be on the Springfield College website or on the TVs around campus. I've been Sam Dostaler. Alongside me, Jimmy Kelley. Thanks for listening. And be sure to tune in at 1 p.m. for the Springfield College Pride as they take on the University of Rochester.